Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're going to have an exclusive question answer session beginning now for the next 40 minutes till 8 p.m. So here's the first question. What are the symptoms of self-realization? Please comment on this. The symptoms of self-realization are given in different places in the scriptures. In the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 2, verses 55 up to 72 gives the actual symptoms of self-realization. Please go through that, chapter 2, verses 55 to 72. Next, Pradyumna was the son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. However, one of the names of Krishna is also Pradyumna. Please clarify the significance of this. You see, just like even in our material world, there may be a gentleman by name Krishnamurti. Now, his relative may also be named Krishnamurti, somebody younger. Or his elderly relative, somebody may be having the name Krishnamurti. So, there is possibility of common names, but we identify the personality by something more than just the name when the name is a common name like that. Is it true that both demons and demigods are present in the Assembly of Vishnu Loka? I do not know of any Assembly of Vishnu Loka, so I can't answer this question. How to be constantly in devotional state in Bhagavad Bhakti? Yes, to be constantly situated in devotional state of consciousness, the consciousness has to be purified. This purification takes time and it is a gradual process. So the more we keep on doing devotional service, more we associate with everything devotional. We associate with the holy name, we associate with the deities, we associate with the scriptures, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, we associate with devotees, and our activities are also centered around Krishna consciousness. That will ensure that more and more our consciousness becomes spiritualized. But please always remember, as long as we are in the material world, we are subject to the influence of the material gunas or material influence of other people being materialistic. So we have to be careful not to associate much with materialistic people. Otherwise, if we associate with materialistic people, their influence can actually again take our consciousness from the spiritual state to the material state. So we have to be careful. Till we transfer ourselves from the material world to the spiritual world, in the material world there is always a possibility of this material influence. Always a possibility of material influence. So we should be very careful about associating with materialistic people, associating with material atmosphere outside the temple, outside your home, outside your circle of normal interaction. You have to be very careful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, one symptom of a Vaishnava is Asat Sangatyag e Vaishnava Achar. Asat Sangatyag. Asat is materialistic people, demoniac people, those who are not interested seriously in spiritual life. such people, their association should be abandoned, should be given up. And this is the standard of behavior for a Vaishnava. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed us. Next question. As seen, there is no difference in energy and energy, but there is difference in quantity of energy. So how can we measure the weight of these energies on the gunas? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. I really am not able to understand this question. I'll come back to this a little later. Next question. You explained that Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the maintainer of the material world. What are the roles of other expansions of Lord Krishna as Narayana, Mahavishnu and Garbhodakshai Vishnu? Okay. Narayana is the form of the Lord in the spiritual world. Narayana is the predominating deity of the Vaikuntha planets. Each Vaikuntha planet is predominated by one particular form of Narayana. The forms of Narayana are 24. Keshava, the second name itself is Narayana, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnu, Madhusudana, like that 24 names are there based on the arrangement of the four symbols, Shanka, Chakra, Gada, Padma. In four hands, two on the right side and two on the left side, the Lord is holding the four symbols. So, depending on the arrangement of the symbols, the combination of the arrangements, 24 combinations are possible. So, 24 forms of Narayana, 24 names are there. So, he is the predominating deity of the spiritual planet, Vaikuntha planet. Mahavishnu's specific role is Mahavishnu enters into the material energy at the beginning of creation. And he glances on the material energy which is lying in a dormant condition, and material energy becomes activated. Before that, material energy is in an inactive state. It becomes activated and the gunas become active. Then the gunas act on Mahatattva, the material energy in its activated state, and then the elements are generated out of this activation of the material energy. The Panchabhuta, the 10 senses, and then the 5 sense objects, and then the mind and the intelligence and false ego, all these are generated. So Mahavishnu also, he lies down on the Karana ocean and he breathes out universes. When he breathes out, so many universes come out of his skin holes. Each universe is like a seed-like form when Mahavishnu breathes out. And they will last only as long as one breath of Mahavishnu. When he inhales, everything goes into his body and everything is destroyed and goes into his body. So the duration of the life on the universe, itself, is one breath of Mahavishnu. That's all. Then Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he enters into every universe and then the universe begins to develop. So Garbhodakshai Vishnu fills half the universal shell, which is empty in the beginning, with his perspiration, and that water is called Garbha water. And on the Garbha water, it is half filling the universal shell. And Garbhodakshai means he lies on the Garbha Udaka, the water of the Garbha ocean. He lies down there on the bed of this serpent, Sheshnag. He lies down on Sheshnag. And then from his navel, one lotus flower comes. On that lotus flower, Brahma is born. And then Garbhodakshai Vishnu expands as Virat Purusha. And Virat Purusha generates all the planets all the varieties on each planet as the place of residence for all the living beings. After that, Brahma actually begins the creation of the living beings. Creation means secondary creation. Brahma is given the knowledge how to do the creation. Brahma, first of all, he gives birth to the Prajapatis, and the Prajapatis produce the first of each species, and then the species multiply by the method of procreation, and they populate the whole universe on different planets. So that is the whole that is the explanation for the different roles of the other expansions. Next question: when faith is continuously flickering and not establishing, what changes do we have to make? Okay, in the beginning, when we begin devotional service, our faith is called Komala Shraddha. It is very, very tender. So tender faith, it is subject to being affected by external influences. So the faith has to be strengthened. The strengthening of the faith is through the process of devotional service, process of Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. So the more we chant, the more our faith becomes strengthened. The more we do devotional activities, more our faith gets strengthened. And as our faith becomes stronger, there will be less of influence of external materialistic atmosphere, less influence. Then we become steady after a certain stage of developing this faith more and more, stronger faith. Our faith becomes steady. Then you will see that faith is not flickering. Till we come to the steady state. In the Bhagavatam it is described that when purification of the heart happens about 80%, then our faith becomes steady. So we have to purify our heart. Next question, what kinds of pastimes did Lord Krishna perform in Golok Vrindavana? The pastimes in Golok Vrindavana are the pastimes which are a replica of those pastimes are displayed in the material world. So we get an idea of what are the kind of pastimes Krishna performs in Golok Vrindavana when we hear of the pastimes he performed in the Gokula Vrindavana, the Vrindavana manifest in this earth planet. But the only difference is in the earthly Gokula Vrindavana, the killing of the demons, that is unique to the earth, to the Gokula Vrindavana. There are no demons in the spiritual world. In Goloka Vrindavana, there are no demons. So there is no such pastime of killing demons in the Goloka Vrindavana. Neither there is any growth of Krishna. In the material world, when Krishna appears, he first of all appears as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. So that birth pastime is also not there in the spiritual world. Spiritual world, there is no birth. Neither for Krishna nor for the living beings. There is no birth. Devotees also don't take birth in spiritual world. So birth pastime is not there. Then Krishna growing up, he was born as a small infant child, and then he grew up, and then he became a youth, and then he left Vrindavan and went away to Mathura. So this growing also doesn't happen in Goloka Vrindavan. Eternally he is present as the child of Mother Yashoda, as the friend of the cowherd boys, as the lover of Radharani and other younger gopis. Eternally he is engaged in pastimes in those forms. And he is particularly reciprocating with each devotee according to the devotee's desire to serve the Lord. And he is present, he is available for everyone individually, exclusively. So that is spiritual world. Next question, how can we understand the role of Ganesha in spiritual life? Okay, Ganesha is deriving the power to remove the obstacles on the path of progress of people in this material world, because his two tusks are resting under the lotus feet of Krishna. There is a verse in the Brahma Samhita that says this: Yat pada pallava yugam vinidhaya kumbha dvandve pranama samaye sa ganadhiraja vignan vihantu malamasya jagatrayasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Ganesha, he rests his two tusks under the lotus feet of Krishna. That is how he derives the power to remove vignan vihantu malamasya jagatrayasya. In all the three worlds, upper, middle and lower planetary systems, Ganesha is the one whom people can pray to remove the obstacles on the path of their progress. So Ganesha is able to remove the obstacles because he derives power from Krishna. So instead of praying to Ganesha to remove our obstacles, we can directly pray to Krishna. Specifically, we pray to Narasimha. Narasimha is the form of the Supreme Lord whom we pray to for removing all obstacles on the path of our progress, especially in spiritual life. And anyway, devotees are not interested so much in materialistic way of life. So devotees, true devotees don't pray to Krishna for removing material obstacles on the path of material progress. Devotees pray to Krishna, specifically to Narasimhadev, to remove obstacles on the path of spiritual progress. Next question. The association of children, wife, relatives and friends is just like the brief meeting of travelers. With each change of body, one is separated from such associates, just as one loses the objects one possesses in a dream when the dream is over. So how to accept this fact and be fearless? Yes, the Shastras say the association of people in this world, in a family or in a society, whatever, is just a brief meeting of travelers, because we are on a journey and our ultimate goal is the abode of Krishna. That is where we belong, that is our home. So just like you leave home and go, then you come back home. And when you're traveling, you may meet so many people, but you are aiming, the travel itself is aiming to reach the destination of home. Similarly, in this material world, everyone is a traveler. Everyone. That's why you see their situation or status keeps changing. Only if you travel, there is a change. If you don't travel, then how can there be change? So we are travelers. That's a fact. So if we, with each change of body, one is separated from such associates. Yeah, the change of body, we are separated from associates, but we also forget when we change body. Forgetfulness is there. I don't remember who all I was associated with in my previous life. Nobody remembers. Right? So we forget. So Krishna facilitates through this forgetfulness. That is the way we can realize the temporary nature of all such association, all such relationships in every life. We can understand this. How to accept this fact and be fearless? Accepting the fact is by hearing from realized souls. Otherwise, we always may have some doubt, or we may not be convinced about it, but we hear from realized souls, from pure devotees. Or we study the scriptures, the original words of Shukadev Goswami, of Krishna, of the great acharyas. You hear the words or read the statements, and then you can become convinced and you can accept the fact. And once you accept the fact, you definitely become fearless. Next question. How three modes are influencing the jivas, randomly or based on his karma? Is it nature influencing or demigods? Okay, one by one I'll answer. How are the three modes influencing the jivas? The combination of the three modes are always influencing the jiva, every jiva. Now, the combination of the three modes depends on what is our state of consciousness. If I am predominantly situated in Sattva-guna, then influence of Sattva-guna on me is more. Somebody else is predominantly situated in Rajoguna, for that person, Rajoguna's influence is more. And if somebody is situated on the spiritual platform, transcendentally situated, even in the material world, then such a person, there is no influence of the three gunas. No influence of the three gunas. So, therefore, the three modes influencing the jiva is based on the jiva's own situation in the gunas. Now, what is the basis of the jiva's situation in particular gunas? It is based on the food habits, based on the sleeping habit, based on the working habit, based on the type of people he or she associates with, based on the desires one cultivates. There are many, many factors. So, if you read the Bhagavad-Gita, 14th chapter, 16th chapter, 17th chapter and 18th chapter, you can understand to a good extent different factors which determine our situation in the three gunas. Next part of the question is, randomly or based on the karma is the influence of the three modes. It is not random, it is not based on karma also. Is it nature influencing or demigods? It's nature. Influence of three gunas is nature's influence, not the demigods. Next question. On the cover page of Ishopanishad book, Lord Vishnu's picture has the Sudarshan Chakra on the left side and Chank on the right side. What is the significance of this depiction? As I explained, that form of Vishnu shown on the Ishopanishad book cover is Keshava. Keshava has got the four symbols in a particular order. Keshava, Madhava, Narayana, Govinda, like different forms, 24 forms. So, it is Keshava's arrangement that is shown on that cover. Next question. How can we understand the apparent suffering in the life of a pure devotee spiritual master? Now, the pure devotee spiritual master, when he comes to the material world, he actually appears to be taking birth in a family and growing up and going to school and doing ordinary activities. But how do we understand that he is a pure devotee? That is, in course of time, it is revealed by his activities being almost 100% dedicated for spiritual life. Even though in the beginning it may not appear like that, but even then in the beginning also it is 100% spiritual life only. But it may not appear like that, but it becomes very evident as time passes. So, the apparent suffering is the teaching of the pure devotee for us, that in spite of having such inconveniences of bad health or whatever, the pure devotee does not stop devotional service at any time, continues circumstances including bad health. Therefore, the pure devotees, actually there is no suffering for him like we suffer. There is no suffering for him. And he also actually seems to be going through the various situations like an ordinary person, but actually his consciousness is what makes the difference. His consciousness is 100% Krishna consciousness. And that is what makes the difference. Yesterday you told one can only attain freedom if following sages. What is the process of following sages in current time? So at least one can make this life successful. Specifically, yesterday's verse said that the great souls, the Mahajanas, they are actually engaged in devotional service even under all kinds of circumstances. They are engaged in devotional service under all circumstances. So, we learn from their life how we should also engage in devotional service under all circumstances. Just like, for example, chanting Hare Krishna. Actually, we can chant in any condition. Even if there is some difficulty with the body or with the mind or whatever, we can chant Hare Krishna in all circumstances if we try. So like that, we can do some devotional service under any circumstance, then we are safe, we are protected, we are guaranteed to make spiritual progress to ultimately achieve complete success at the end of this life itself. So that is what the Mahajanas are teaching, that in their life, they are always engaged in devotional service under all circumstances. They have no other activity, they have no other engagement. So that is what we have to learn. Following them means we also, in our own circumstances, in our own situation, we also engage in devotional service. Now there are varieties of devotional service we can perform. So we can select to do devotional service according to whatever we can in a particular situation, whatever we can. Next question. Belief is an inbuilt safety value and faith is fearlessness. If you have faith in something, you can do it with an open mind. So what is the value of faith and on what can you have faith? Actually, belief and faith. Belief is a word that is mostly used in English language, and sometimes they say faith is like belief. But faith is something else. Faith is the translation of the word Shraddha. Shraddha is not just a belief. Shraddha is, Prabhupada describes this Shraddha as unflinching trust in something sublime. Unflinching trust. Trust which is not shakeable. Unshakable faith, trust. And that trust is in something sublime. Sublime means something which is above the material platform. It's on the transcendental platform, the spiritual platform. So specifically, it refers to the faith that simply by serving Krishna, one can achieve all perfection in one's own life. Simply by serving Krishna, by rendering devotional service to Krishna, one can achieve all success or all types of perfection in one's own life, in every field of endeavor. That is called Shraddha. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krutahaya. This is a definition given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. What can you have faith on? Actually, faith we should have only in Krishna. We should have faith only in Krishna. Because Krishna is the absolute truth. Everything else is relative truth. Relative truth means it is truth only under certain conditions, only at a certain time, only in certain situations like that. Whereas absolute truth is truth in all phases of time, all conditions, all situations, all circumstances like that. So absolute faith is Krishna. Krishna is the absolute faith. Absolute truth is Krishna. So we should have faith. We should have faith in Krishna. That is the real faith we should have. Can having too much faith and being too fearless be dangerous? Too much faith means there is nothing like too much faith. If you have faith in Krishna, everything is perfect for you. And otherwise, materially, somebody tries to place their faith on one particular thing or some other person or some other possession or whatever, some other value or quality or whatever, then always this trying to balance. Can I believe this? Can I trust this person, or can I trust that person, or can I trust? Can I have security if I have money, or if I have influence, or if I have good health? So this type of shifting of trust, or how much to place in what, all that is material situation. In the spiritual life, 100% faith in Krishna. That's all. That is spiritual life. 100% faith in Krishna. Next question. Sometimes people ask this question that pastimes of Lord mentioned in Srimad-Bhagavatam, like Narsimha Leela, doesn't necessarily tally with current day holy dhams like Ahobilam. Okay, Ahobilam is a very special place. Please understand. Narsimha Leela took place in Indra's planet, because sorry for the interruption, it was a technical problem. So Ahobilam is a very special place. Let me explain what is this Ahobilam. Narsimha Leela took place when Lord Narsimhadev appeared on the heavenly planet, Indra Loka. So what is this place called Ahobilam, which is called the holy dham where Narsimha's pastimes are supposed to have happened? It is actually, Ahobilam is the holy place where great sages have done tapasya, and when they did tapasya, they prayed to Narsimha, I want to see your Leela, how you appeared out of a pillar. So Narsimha revealed to that sage, that particular devotee or sage, how he appeared out of a pillar for sake of protecting Prahlad. So that place where Lord Narsimha showed that to the particular devotee or sage, that is now worshipped as Ugra Stamba, a pillar from which Narsimha appeared, or some other form of Narsimha, some other pastime Narsimha, like that. Ahobilam, I think there are 9 Narsimha forms, and each one is associated with some particular pastime of Narsimha. So like that. So these are all pastime places which is revealed to devotees. It is revealed to devotees who have performed the tapasya, who have actually worshipped Narsimha or performed tapasya. Okay. Next question. I am trying for 0% tea, but then I get dizzy. How to overcome such bodily conditions? Okay, this giving up tea, in the beginning, definitely there will be symptoms of, because of not drinking tea, there will be headache or some kind of discomfort in the body, not be able to do your normal duties. Yeah, that is there. But side by side, please ensure that you gradually cut down the consumption of tea, gradually, little by little, and side by side keep on increasing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Unless you develop inner spiritual strength, you don't have the ability to give up such old habits. Especially this dependence upon such chemical, what do you say, it is called a chemical stimulus for our mind to work, for our intelligence to function, you see. And the chemical stimulus is how we have conditioned our body. So that won't change immediately. It will gradually change. It will take some time. Okay. So side by side, keep increasing the chanting and reducing the quantity of tea little by little by little. And then it will come to 0 one day. It will happen. It may take some few months, or it may take just a few weeks, whatever. Each person is different. I mean, there's no fixed time we can say it will happen. No, but it will definitely happen. You can experience that as you keep on reducing. Next question. What is the importance of initiation? Initiation is when we surrender to the spiritual master and we agree to follow his instructions. Specifically, we agree to follow his instruction to chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra and follow the 4 regulator principles, avoid the 4 types of sinful activities. And then we also try to increase our devotional activities so that we prepare ourselves to go to Krishna's personal abode end of this life. So initiation is that point of time where we surrender, and from that day onwards, rest of the life we are going to follow all the principles, all the rules, regulations. Not very difficult, but we should be committed. So initiation is that giving that commitment to the spiritual master. And the spiritual master also, based on our commitment, he also gives assurance that if you follow his instructions in a committed way, he is guaranteeing that at the end of this life you will go back to Godhead. He is giving that guarantee. That is the significance of initiation. In a way, we can say it is a spiritual contract. It is a spiritual contract. You agree to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, and the spiritual master guarantees that he will take you back to Godhead. It is his responsibility. You just follow, that's all. You don't worry what happens after you are practicing. What happens, you don't worry about it. It is the spiritual master's responsibility to take you. Next, kindly explain this. Radha Krishna did not marry because they are one soul. No, Radha Krishna is not one soul. Krishna is the supreme soul. All the living entities, Jivatmas, are individual souls, separate individual souls. Separate means they are all individual souls, tiny individual souls. Each of the Jivatmas have specific relationship with Krishna. Now Radharani belongs to what is called as the internal potency of Krishna. The internal energy, the spiritual energy of Krishna. Spiritual energy is present in different forms. So one of the forms of spiritual energy is called the pleasure potency. For Krishna's pleasure, there are different personalities like Radharani, like the gopis, like Mother Yashoda, different personalities, the cowherd boys, boyfriends of Krishna. So Krishna has got all these relationships with these internal potential personalities with whom he actually is engaged in pastimes for his pleasure and for their pleasure. Pleasure is actually equally shared by everyone in a particular pastime, equally available for everyone, Krishna and the devotees both. But Krishna is engaging in these pastimes, and devotees also engage in the pastimes. So each one is giving pleasure to the other, each one is trying to please the other. So that is, Radharani doesn't belong to any Jiva category. She is not a Jiva soul. She is not Krishna. She is belonging to the internal potency of Krishna for sake of Krishna's pleasure. She serves Krishna for Krishna's pleasure, exclusively for that. So Radha Krishna did not marry means there is a pastime of Radha and Krishna marrying in Vrindavan. Yes, there is a pastime. Then Sita, Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, who are not different, married. See, Sita Ram's marriage is another pastime. Lakshmi Narayan marriage is another pastime. All these are pastimes. You see, any activity performed by the Lord or his devotees, like internal potential devotees, Lakshmi belongs to internal potency, Sita belongs to internal potency, Radharani belongs to internal potency. They are all meant for giving pleasure to Krishna in a specific way. So that marriage is a pastime. Actually, it's a pastime. Soul does not do anything, only sees and enjoys. During chanting, the material body does it. Is this correct? soul does not do anything means the material activity in this material world, every material activity, there are three doers. This is explained in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita in verses 13, 14, 15, 16. Please go through Bhagavad-Gita, 5th chapter, verses 13, 14, 15, 16. I'll briefly tell you. There are three doers for every material activity. The beginning of the material activity is the desire of a particular person. Let's say I desire to lift my hand. My desire is the starting point of this action of lifting hand. So then Paramatma is the second doer who has to sanction that lifting of the hand. So Paramatma sanctions, then material nature carries out this activity through the three gunas. So the hand is seen to be lifted. I think I am lifting. But actually what is happening? Material nature is carrying out this lifting of the hand through the three gunas because of the sanction of the Paramatma who is sitting in my heart, because I desire to lift it. This is the whole mechanism. So your question is, during chanting the material body does it? No, material body is not doing anything like spiritual activity. No. Spiritual activity is the activity of the soul. Spiritual activity is the activity of the soul. Of course, our tongue is engaged, our material bodily parts are engaged, but that engagement is our endeavor. Okay, materially we may endeavor, but actually spiritual activity is the activity of the soul. It is not an activity of the body. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.